Hi.
Hey,
Introduce
it's
yourself.
okay. I'm Brain Cruse. I play bass, upright bass, and electric bass, and teach bass and a few other instruments as well. And I live in Richmond for how long have I lived here? For good Lord, 18 years. Time flies. And I went to VCU to study music, and I play in a couple different groups. Obviously, a little bit affected with the COVID stuff, but I'm playing a couple different groups around town, and which is fun. A bunch of different styles of music, like some different world, quote unquote, world musics. Although some people joke, what music isn't world music? But only that of aliens. No, but I do like this one group I play in. We do like music from Africa and stuff like that, like Ethiopian stuff, and that's pretty cool. Afros and All Stars, and yeah, some other groups around town, a whole variety of stuff. So that keeps me pretty busy,
Hmm.
and my 2-year-old daughter and 6 pets as well.
I know you had pets.
3 dogs
Oh,
and
they
3
said I know
cats.
you had cats. I know you had
Yeah,
dogs.
got 3
Awesome.
dogs
Okay,
too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's a
let's
full
go. We
zoo
can do this.
experience.
We can stay on task. We can stay focused. We can do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Real quick baseline things on top of that. How long have you been playing bass for?
Let's see. So I started playing bass in 7th grade. I was 12. And so that puts it 24 years here. Uh,
That's a lot.
yeah, that's a long time. That's a lot of plucking now that I think about it like that.
Poor
But yeah,
hands.
I played clarinet. I started on clarinet, and which was cool. I had nothing against clarinet, but I do remember I was in like 7th grade, and I was kind of not beginning to feel clarinet quite as much in band, you know. And I did play a little guitar. I'd been messing around with my dad's acoustic and stuff, and a bunch of my buddies played guitar as well. And they were kind of, you know, they'd be like, let's jam after school or maybe start a band. And I'll never forget, I was in band class, and the 8th grader who was playing bass was this dude Ramiro. I'll never forget this. And I was like, looked over and I was like, man, looks like he's having a great time. And there's only one of them, and he's graduating. You know, he's going to high school. And I was like, they might need like another bassist. And I was like, and because all my friends are, you know, playing guitar, they might need a
That's
bassist as well. So I was like, hey,
always
let me
what
go.
it's like. There's only ever one or two.
Right? Yeah,
There's
exactly. Like
only
playing
ever a
guitar.
very small amount. Oh
And
my goodness.
then I yeah got a bass. And actually I do remember I hated it at first because like my first teacher, I took lessons from this guy at Music and Arts, and he would like we would like play the major scale, and then like he would just be like, all right, we're just gonna keep playing that faster, like unless you have songs for me to like teach you. And I was like, whoa man, this is really
You
bad.
are
Like I
not like
hate this.
that,
Yeah.
thankfully.
Yeah, no, quickly, yeah, yeah. Never would I be like, I was like, whoa, this is not good, and like I
Not
don't know if I
ideal.
like bass. But then I got a cool teacher in high school, and it was like, yeah, and
And
I
so,
loved it. So,
speaking of, do you have a favorite teacher, like of whom you've worked with?
I would say so. My teacher in high school was cool. He was like electric bass, and like he played a lot of guitar. So we actually did a fair amount of guitar, like some electric bass stuff, and like some theory stuff. So that was really cool. And he was like for that like age and stuff. It was just like great working with him. Ironically, his name was John McCain, and it happened to be right around the time. Like I grew up in Arlington near DC, so it happened to be right around the time when John McCain was like running for president. And so like it was like a joke. Like he had the paper. Like actually the spot where I took lessons was this spot called the Music Loft. It was essentially like an apartment, but like they did lessons from it. But I'll never forget, he'd have the paper out there, the Washington Post. It would be like McCain with a big day today, and I was like, oh, John, like looks like you had a big day here. So we would kind of joke about that. But yeah, he was a really nice guy. And but I will say, like, for upright, definitely my classical teacher at VCU, Kelly Ali, who Miss Davis may have even had up there in the Hawk's Nest for a few sectionals. But I was gonna say, Kelly, yeah, he was really inspirational teacher, and actually we're still friends to this day, which is really fun. And as he would say, we're colleagues now,
Mhm.
but he's a really good teacher, and he was much more like driving, like forceful, like pushing me. But sometimes, that can be good. You need that a little bit. But in a really good way, I respected him for this, where he would push you, but like when I would talk to him and be like, hey man, I just don't know if that's like really the best way. Like I'm gonna respond the best to that thing, he would be like, oh, okay, cool, man.
Like
Well,
a
let's
constructive
like
working style?
exactly. So like I don't necessarily work the best with like the I'm gonna call it, for lack of a better term, kind of like the football coach like yelling at you type thing,
I
which
have
that can
yet
be
to meet a
effective for
person who
sure.
does work well with that.
Yeah. Exactly. There might be a few, but I'm with you. I'm with you. Not, yeah, maybe not my optimal style. But it was cool because he was very like, like he's from Queens, New York, man. So he just tells it how it is.
Yeah.
He's not gonna like necessarily like sugarcoat. He's just gonna be like, hey, man, that scale, sounded like what. Let's fix it.
You
Boom.
know
So,
what
but
that
it was
reminds
cool.
me
Like,
of? Reminds me of Miss Davis.
yes, yes,
No
yes.
sugarcoating
There are
here.
others. There are others with this style as well, right? So yeah. But I will say in a cool way, sometimes, you know, you and I have had a lesson or two like this as well. But sometimes like I would come in, he'd just be like, hey man, everything all right? And I was like, man, not really. And he was
Just
like,
need a
cool.
day. Just need to
Let's get
like
a
chill.
yeah, I was in college at the time, so he'd be like, cool, let's go get a cup of coffee and talk about it. I'm like, all right. So
And that, ladies and
sometimes like
gentlemen, is how you foster a good relationship with your teacher.
yes, exactly. And I was like so great because sometimes it was more, there's more than just playing the notes, obviously, so yeah, so he was really good in that regard. So yeah, that definitely he was a huge influence on me. I haven't really had like a wide array of upright teachers, something that I could obviously stand to take some more lessons and because you're always learning different stuff from people. But yeah, he was definitely my most influential upright teacher for sure.
Respect.
Yeah,
And
Kelly.
you mentioned like way at the beginning you really didn't like it, which I also did not. I'm not calling you out on this, but it's a beautiful segue into what do you think is the hardest part? Like what has been the hardest part about playing bass?
Oh, the hardest part about playing upright bass,
Hmm.
for sure, I would say a combination of like the physicality of the instrument, like that really has taken a toll. Like, like I definitely do feel that like in my hand sometimes. And honestly, that hit me really hard in college when I got tendonitis in my left hand and had to stop playing for like 5 months. And but Kelly, again, I credit him. He was like, hey, not just like panic or like, what are we going to do? You can't ever play bass. He was like, hey, let's fix your technique so you won't have to worry about that. I was like, yeah, that made all the
Hmm.
difference. So I would say the physicality, like that's a tough thing for sometimes, like, to get over that hump, especially if you take a little break or, something and try to get, back into that. But I would say that. And then honestly, for myself with upright bass is the lack, the constant adjusting. That's one of the most challenging things, right? Is you're always listening, adjusting, oh, I just didn't shift quite far enough. I'm a little flat. Let me shift further for the next note, So I would say that was for especially learning the bass, like, once like I kind of got a better handle of like what I need to be doing. Then of course I was like, okay, I'm
Hmm.
listening, adjusting, whatever. But that first, like, I remember, yeah, that first like 2 or 3 years, because I didn't have any upright lessons like in high school or anything. So the first like 2 or 3 years in college, I was like a little like I was, getting a little frustrated because I was like, man, like I'm not getting around as well on the instrument, as I needed to be. And so, but once I like took into the account, like, okay, yeah, I really do have to be adjusting all the time, listening and, like there's gonna be like notes are gonna be out of tune, but like that's like how this instrument is made. You just always adjusting. So that combined with like the physicality um,
Hmm.
was for me the hardest.
That
What,
definitely makes sense. Like when
how
you're
about for you?
growing and adjusting into the bass, it's especially hard, like you said, we both really didn't like it at the beginning. Once that clicks for you and you really understand what you're supposed to be doing, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and like in high school, like I like struggle with that because like I just knew the grip. The senior, like the older bassist was like 1, 2, 4, like never use ring finger. But I'm like, all right, well, that's all right, where do I go from here? And so I had a lot of, I was like, so yeah, once I did get some, tutelage in college, and my jazz teacher, he was, of course, very talented guy as well, and knowledgeable. But yeah, Kelly, I do give him credit of like really mastering like how to get around the bass and thinking, and I've said this to you or any of my upright students, but like really thinking about like the first finger is like dictates everything. Like, where is that finger? The others will be where they need to be if that shift is right, And so kind of getting, deeper instead of just like, I'm on this note, going to that note, And but then it was like once I did, I was like, oh word, now I can like get around so much more easily.
Yeah, like flashing before my eyes, I had to break the ring finger habit. It still
Yeah.
sneaks up on me every once in a while, and you're like, "Hey, no!" It happens.
Because and luckily it's like where that last lesson was like on F sharp or F natural. Like you technically some guy you could totally throw in a ring finger up there, and for sure. But yeah, but it's a tough thing, and as anybody could say, you don't necessarily have to have all that technique to play it. It just may make it easier playing it.
Mhm. And then
One of my favorite
last,
bass players, he has terrible technique. Avishai, his name's Avishai Cohen.
oh my
Terrible.
god,
Like the
wait, I
dude,
love that.
yeah,
Genuinely.
check that dude. Honestly, his music is awesome. It's amazing. He's really good. He's from Israel. I think he like lives in France. I want to say Paris or something. But long story short, I discovered him when I was like your age. Like I like went to this jazz camp, like our conference thing in New York with our band director, and saw this guy live. I was like, whoa, this is incredible. It kind of has like a lack of a better description, like a Middle Eastern tonality to some of his songs, which sounds really cool with like different time signatures. So
Mhm.
yeah, yep. No technique though.
You talked like way at the beginning that like you do a lot of different gigs with a bunch of different styles. What do you think your like favorite kind of gig, favorite kind of style to play in is?
Ooh, man, that's a tough question. Ooh, you know what I would say is that I think I've discovered that like my favorite like I've discovered that like my favorite style I think I could say overall is being a bass player first and foremost. Like, and I say that in this regard, like sometimes with like the jazz stuff, not in an all in a negative way, but like the role of the bass might be way more like soloistic and
Mm,
improvisation, and all the stuff. Now I'm down to solo. I mean, that's fun. I love soloing, but I'm the first to say that like I've realized over the years that like my true like enjoyment is like holding down the
yeah.
bass line,
And so you started
whether
talking, and
it's
I was
on
like,
electric.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's on like electric or upright, but like holding down a line, and then maybe I can embellish the line a little. Like I do enjoy that. Like I'm
Mm,
also okay to like play the same thing over and over and over. That's fine. But I have realized like in settings like if, say I have a gig and like with a band where like there's like you know 2 sets. Each set has like 10 songs, and maybe I'll take a solo like once in the first set or once in the second set. Like I
mhm,
found that like that's totally cool. Like I'm down. And even if I had no solos, that'd be cool too, But sometimes when it's like, and sometimes just the nature of the gig, like if it's like a jazz duo, I mean, pretty much I'm gonna be soloing because it's only the guitar and me,
yeah. Yeah.
piano and me. So like you gotta do it, to like, but that's part of the song. But that being said, I've realized, man, I do enjoy more like holding down the bass part. And then if a solo is like cool, yeah, I'd love to take a solo, but like that's not my main thing. And other guys, as I've realized, whether it's horn players, guitarists, or whatever, they're shining in that light. That's they're like, yeah, this is where I'm cool at. And
Mhm.
then like I'm like, cool, I'm cool over here, they're cool there. Let's use each other's like best things. And so, but if I had to pick a style, I would probably say like, man, that could be I would say that would be difficult for me to do. That would be difficult, but I would say a style that involves just what I said, like where you're holding down a bass line, or or even if it's like a jazz thing, like you're holding down the bass part, and then like this gig I did, a recording thing I did last night, it was like kind of like that, where it was like a live type recording,
Mhm.
for the initial thing. And then like, and, I didn't have like solo all the time. I had a couple spots where they're like, yeah, man, go ahead and take a solo. But it was like that was a cool role. It was like be the bass, step out for a little bit. But I have to go back to my roots, honestly. Playing, I love the energy of music, you know. So I love getting into these. I love playing the African, you know, arrangements with this one group. You know, I love playing some of the jazz stuff with other stuff. But I will say it probably I am like rocking and rolling at heart. You know, I mean, when I was like, well, I'll say this, like when I was like, you know, 12 to like 13 to 14, like the impact, and trust me, I know it's like such a cheesy band, but at that age, the impact that like Blink 182 and like that bass player had on
I
me.
listened to them.
Do you? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, dude, I love it. I love it. Yeah, that had like that one band and that bass player in particular. I mean, it was just
Mhm.
like I learned all, you know, I knew all the lyrics, all the not maybe I didn't know how to play every song, but I learned so many songs, you
They've
know,
got
and
a
just
lot
like
of really good bass lines.
and I like the old stuff. You know, this was like you know, Enema of the State, and then before, you know, like the albums before
Mhm.
that. And man, yeah, it was just like I don't know, like I was just like, man. And so recently, a band called Murphy's Kids, which is like kind of like a ska punk type group, they like this is a few years ago, but they asked me to join, and they've been around for like 15 or 20 years, a local band. And but then when I like joined them, I was like, oh my god, man, that's when I realized like I miss this so much, you know. Like, I was like, I don't know if this is like being
I
sentimental,
have
so I
come
won't curse.
home.
Yeah, I won't curse or anything, but seriously, I was like, I miss this so effing much, you know, like, because like it was like, dude, I was like, I'm at home, I'm rocking, you know, like this is why I love. And so people always give me a hard time, like I'm in the gig or something, they'll be like, man, you know, you look like you were just having so much fun, and I'm like, well,
'Cause
yeah,
I was.
because I was, yeah, I'm playing bass and having a great time, you know, and yeah, so that's what I realized, putting yourself into like that situation where it's like, which this happens like some jazz gigs sometimes, where you're like on the edge, you know, like there is merit in that, like to like the creating music where you're just like kind of hanging on, but like you're making it work, you know. But that being said, like, and some people really thrive off that, but I have realized like yeah, for myself, yeah, I want to, you know, more like hold down these parts and, you know, living on the free jazz edge. Now, again, that's a beautiful thing, but I've watched some bands do it. And I remember watching this bass player and I was just thinking like, man, he sounds so good. Like, I was just like, how is he thinking of this? How is he even finding this beat? You know, it was real, like open, like avant-garde, but the drummer and the
Mhm.
bass were like this. And I was like, dude, if that was me, I would be, you know, crapping my pants right now. You know, like I would not be comfortable up there at all. Like I would be like, you know, just I'd be trying to play, but like it wouldn't be natural, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was kind of laughing like, man, yeah, this guy, this is his thing. Like he's so natural at this, you know. So yeah, that's yeah, definitely, man. It all comes back to rocking, really.
Respect. Once again, respect.
Respect the rock.
Okay.
That's cool. I like that you. I didn't realize you listened to something 182. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. My music tape, we're gonna get off top. I'm gonna actually we can talk about this at the end of this because we've been going for almost 18 minutes now, and knowing us, we could go for like another hour. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna cut this here, and then we will talk about this later.
Okay, good. Yeah, Dave, we can follow up on Blink 182. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Any
Excellent. Okay.
closing remarks?
I would say my closing remarks is definitely, I would just say on a, you know, in a great way, it's been great, honestly, working with you the past few years, you know, and seeing, I love, you know, interacting with students that, what's the right way to say it, that brings something to the experience, you know, brings something to the lesson, and, you know, not just come in, kind of, what are we in the, you know, flatline, which obviously you're not that at all. So I love that, like, you know, you come your true self, you know, and
Let
honestly,
the record stand. I introduced him to K-pop.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah. Put that for Miss Davis, exactly. Yeah, you introduced me to a whole new genre. Now I have students who are like, oh yeah, like our teachers like, yeah, my one of my students is into some K-pop. I'm like, oh, Blackpink, make sure to check out that album. It's really good. Like,
Ah,
they're like, oh, I haven't heard. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, go beyond BTS. There's more. There's more. You know. But no, seriously. And I love though. I do like, you know, that you're you know, like your true self in the lesson. You know, I mean, I'm saying in the hard times and happy times. You know, like that's
mhm.
really important. I feel like, you know. So like, yeah, so like, I love like, yeah, that aspect. And I will say in a closing thing, I feel like, what's the right way to say it? Like when I was in college, like I segued to music because I was like, man, I could actually like do this as a job. Like this is crazy. Like I was pre-med, but then like I was like music too. So I was like, wait, that just blew my mind. Like, wait, what?
Mhm.
Okay. So I was like, all right, I'll give this a go. But I will say one of the most rewarding things was something unplanned. It was after I graduated, and I was kind of like, all right, I don't want to get like I was like, I don't want to get a part-time job just doing whatever. I want to try to get
Mhm.
something since I just did this music thing, degree, something related to music. And one of my buddies, good friend of mine, Chris, he was like, hey man, have you considered teaching? And I was like, well, I don't really know, but I mean, I'd love to give it a try. I think,
You're a
and
wonderful teacher.
oh, thank you, okay, thank you. And so once I got into it, I appreciate that, man. That really means a lot. But once I got into it, then I was like, wow, I love this. Like, this is so much fun. Like, of course, I love playing gigs, but the teaching is like, I'll be honest, it's way more fulfilling.
Mhm.
The gig is fulfilling when you're like getting that adrenaline rush and feeling the connection with the people and seeing people happy in the audience. Like, that's great. My
Mhm.
mom always says when I play wedding gigs, you're making somebody's day. Da da da. So that's cool. But no doubt, man, like the lesson thing, you're like, man, like, these are like lifelong connections and stuff. And just like, yeah, it's like you're really, and like seeing people grow and like feeling that experience myself, taking lessons. I'm like, man, yeah, this is what it's all about. Pass the torch, right? Pass the torch.